administration.
As this on KMOX Radio.
And which gives its attention to the issues that have surfaced and are now being debated in public forum all over the world on the matter of the worst terrorist attack in the history of our country. In our studio are Wanda Webster and her son Blake. Blake is proud to wear the uniform of the Oklahoma City Police SWAT team. He hears about an explosion at a federal building, and he knows his mother works there. On the satellite is Andre King and her son, Rakia. Can you hear me, Miss King?
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Let me just say, Ms. King and your son, Rakia, I'm sorry, your daughter, I'm sorry, are more famous than they ever wanted to be. Here you are on the front page of Sunday's New York Times.
Yeah.
Well, she's looking fine to me. Oh, yes, that's definitely a girl. I'm just getting my first look at this child who may have a class action suit against me when she gets older. First, Mom, please tell us about these injuries. Let me set this up now. You are across the street in the YMCA building, right across from the building which is now in the background here, the federal building in Oklahoma. As a matter of fact, if you looked out your window, you could actually look into the office of Ms. Webster, who is on the 8th floor of the now damaged federal building. Your back was to the window at the time, wasn't it?
Well, my left side was to the window.
Right. And then when the boom happened, you thought it was something around your desk at first, did you?
Yes, I did. There's a pipe that sits behind my chair at work, and I think it's connected to a heater, and I thought that exploded. And there's someone else that sits in my office. She sits across the desk from me. And after I seen that she was knocked on the floor as well as I was, then I knew it was something. I just never, thought it was an explosion.
Yes. The woman that you saw in your office, was she knocked to the floor?
Yes, she was.
And was she not covered with blood?
She was.
And so we should not be surprised that the first thing you thought about was Rakia.
Right. Yeah.
And she's on the first floor of the YMCA building. Is this so?
Uh-huh.
Well, you may have set a record going down those stairs, Mom.
Well, the first thing I thought about was my baby. I stood up, and as long as I was walking, because they told me not to run down the stairs, but I figured I was okay since I was standing up, and I ran down the stairs.
Where was your daughter when you first saw her?
When I first saw her, after I got outside, they had her outside.
And you rushed up to her, and what did you see? Was she awake? Was she talking?
She was just standing there like she was in shock. Later on, they told me she was in shock, but she was just drenched with blood from the neck down.
She has especially, she had a good deal of emergency work and hospital surgical attention to her ears. Is that so, Miss King?
Yes.
She had a good...
Excuse me?
She had some damage to her ears, and also, I think you're afraid to scratch your head even to this moment. Is that so?
Well, the cuts on the back of her ears, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes. We assumed that her back was turned towards the window when all this happened, because all her bruises and injuries are in the back of her. And her finger, sometimes she doesn't let anybody hold it, but she's not going to let me touch it.
Oh, that's all right.
But her finger, her pointer finger, was literally almost severed off. And they had to stitch it back on.
Right. And what is the nature of the injury to your left hand? We see it there pretty well covered.
Could you say that again?
What's the problem with your left hand?
My left hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I really don't know. Well, I have gashes on the top of my left hand and on the bottom of my palm.
Yes.
And I had glass stuck up on the top and on the bottom, and they told me to soak it so the glass could work its way out. but it's still sore. It's very sore.
Right. The New York Times reported, Ms. King, that you sat for a long time on the curb with your baby.
Actually, I just heard that. I didn't, as far as I'm concerned, they only told me to move once when I got up, but they told me that I was probably sitting there for 20 minutes before I actually moved. Right. They were trying to get me to move.
But your baby staring at you must have terrified you. A child only 2 years old being in shock is a very, very scary thing.
Yeah, it hurt me a lot. You know, I wasn't really focused on my injuries. I was concerned about her. And I think that's what probably, you know, had me shaken up. Right.
Do you remember when you first saw the building? Did you see the federal building from your office or after you got downstairs?
No, I didn't. I didn't even look that way. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know where the explosion came from. I actually thought it was in the YMCA, but the only thing I saw was some black smoke to the right of me, and it looked like a car was on fire. That's what I thought blew up. I never thought it was a building. Mm-hmm.
You may have seen or heard of Mrs. Webster, who, do I understand, Mrs. Webster, you were on the 8th floor?
Yes.
In what department?
HUD.
HUD, Housing and Urban Development.
Actually, I work for the Office of Native American Programs. I work with the Indians.
So you are the federal office speaking to the issues of Indian affairs in Oklahoma.
5 states.
5 states. You were standing, what time, what was local time?
9:04 or 9:02.
Something just after 9. And that is the beginning of the workday, is it? 9 a.m.?
No, I start to work at 7. We have flex time, and the people that come in at 9:30 were all right. But the people that came in at 7 or 8, whatever, so you had a varied workforce.
Right. All right, you're on the 8th floor, and something goes boom. Are you knocked to the floor? What was the...
No, I felt more that I was blown because I was standing, and I was facing the north, and it was like, you know, it hits you in the face, and it throws you up against the wall, and the other walls come down and hit you, and it's like everything is disintegrating with this horrible noise. And pressure.
Right. Is anybody else conscious then in your environment? Is anybody screaming? Is anybody talking? Does anybody say, Wanda, let's go this way?
Not until it's all over with. And I'm covered with rubble, so it probably, maybe I would not have heard the first ones. And after I come out, after I move the rubble, then I see a person standing, but she's not screaming. I did not hear any screaming. There was 3 of us that came out together, but no one was screaming.
Do you have any blood loss at this time? No.
Oh, everyone was covered with blood. The glass, and if it wasn't shard, it was powdered. It was in your hair, and your face is like sandpaper. And they wouldn't let me wear the top home from the hospital because of the glass that's embedded in it.
Miss King is nodding. I see you nodding, Miss King. I mean, to this hour, you want to be careful scratching your baby's head or your own head. Is that right?
Yes. I actually just washed my hair yesterday. I think I had all kind of debris and glass embedded in my head also, and I was scared to scratch it, and my head was itching terribly.
Ms. Webster, so now someone says, let's see if the stairwell works, or what was your first?
We'd had bomb drills. I'd worked there since 1980, and they'd had bomb drills. It was kind of a survival instinct that took over then. You know that this terrible thing has happened, but you look for the stairs because that's what we've been taught to do.
So that all that
training paid off.
Worked. Okay. Now, are you in the company of other people when you make your way to the stairwell?
The 2 women. There's the 3 women. We are clutching each other and saying we're going to do it. And yes, we got to the stairwell together. At that time, as you descend down the floors, you accumulate more people until you get down to the patio. When you come out on the patio, and you have this group of stunned and bloody, you know, people.
The patio, is that at the front of
south? the south side. The bomb was on the north side.
I see. And you were going out the back then.
That's where, because the stairwell, that's the only reason it was still standing.
Are you in a police car at the time?
Well, I was at home in bed at the time, and I heard the noise, and I thought it was thunder, and I got up, and no clouds in the sky, so I called down to the police station, and they said the federal building had been blown up. I don't remember exactly what they said, but I remember that the dispatcher said it's really bad, which all of a sudden I'm thinking that, you know, my mom's down there. So I jump in my car and I go down there, and the whole time I'm trying to call her house and trying to, you know, I'm hoping that she's at home.
Right.
And I can see the black smoke coming up from the building, and as I get closer to the building, and I park my car and I get out and I put on a vest, and I remember seeing all the wounded people just standing around, and it was just chaos because the medical personnel were trying to help them, but there was just such a flood of people coming out that, you know, it was just amazing. And I keep looking for her, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking she's still up there, so I blaze to the stairs.
You had been to her office, to be sure, before.
Right, well...
So you knew where she was, where she worked.
Right,
All right, now, is there access from the front of this building?
Well, no, I'm going from the south side, the stairwell that she comes down.
Oh, I see.
And so I hit the stairwell, and I start passing policemen, and policeman after policeman, and they're helping people out of the building, and so I get to the 8th floor, and I look out the door, and it's just gone. There's nothing there. So, you know, then I'm thinking she's, you know, I pretty much decided that she's probably not made it. And so I start to go back down the stairs to think I need to go around the perimeter to look for the wounded, you know, look through the wounded. And an officer grabbed me. It was Edmore Jr., and he grabbed me and said, "I talked to your mom, she's okay." So then I went downstairs. He said that she was at 4th Street, and I look around, I can't find her. Well, I still can't get my hands on her, and the police officers are still bringing people out, and I'm torn between the fact I want to go back in and help, but yet I don't actually have hands on, you know, my mother to know that she is okay. And so I walk the perimeter of the building, and I walk it, and I'm looking through people, and I get a call from an officer that was at the Baptist Hospital, and she told me that my mom was up there.
And so you first saw her then when?
In the hospital.
So here you are. You want to be a good cop and help people, and yet you've got to confirm that your mother's alive.
Yeah, after I got to the hospital, and you know, and I got my mom in the car, I got her over to a friend of mine's house. I loaded up and went back down there, and went back in with another tactical unit that went back up and did like a preliminary search of the floors from about the 2nd floor up.
Well, in a moment we'll talk with some people who are speaking to the issue of now what? What shall we do about this? Are the laws that we have now sufficient to empower the police to stop this before it happens? Or should their powers be expanded? Two views on that. You'll also meet a young student who happens to be of Lebanese descent, who was a high school student from Oklahoma. And he took a good deal of abuse this week. You remember those first reports? Middle Eastern terrorists, this is how they operate, this is their MO. A lot of Arab Americans sustained a lot of hateful looks and worse last week. Who are we in this country? How frightened are we? How racist are we? How xenophobic are we? Who are we afraid of? Is it different now? Is it worse? We'll talk about all these things when we come back in just a moment.
Waited, you're very patient. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I was calling and wanting, kind of curious. I know everybody's been hurt, and I'm not really for what happened, but I was curious, is everybody really ready to accuse certain ethnic groups for what's happened?
Or any group at all. Let's, did you want to speak to that, Ms. Webster? Do you blame anybody for what happened? You almost lost your life here.
No, I don't want to blame any group, a broad brush.
You're prepared to be patient and wait for the justice wheels to turn here.
I just don't feel like that it's going to, you can't condemn. I don't want to be condemned because I'm a government employee.
Yeah.
So
yes.
That's the way I feel about it.
Yes.
One person's bureaucrat is another person's mother.
Well,
hard-working mother, may we say.
Or maybe enemy. I never thought of myself as being a threat to anyone.
Very important point. Very important point.
So.
How about you, Miss King? You hear that?
Sorry.
No, listen, you're entitled to the refreshment, to be sure. What do you know, I mean, what are you, how are your wheels turning now? Your baby's alive. This pressure is at least somewhat relieved. You've got time now to think about this. What are your thoughts? Do you blame anybody?
Well, I feel very grateful, and I feel very fortunate that me and my baby and others, were able to make it out of that. Although I do feel bad for those who didn't, and those of the family members. But I don't blame any group or anybody in Pacific. I do think that there should have been a lot more security down there in that building, and I don't think anybody should have gotten away with planting, I think it was 1,200 pounds of explosives. I don't see how they got away with that.
While we're there, we should give our heartfelt thanks to the Oklahoma City Police Department and other law enforcement agencies there who've accommodated us so well. They've got more to worry about than media, and they were most courteous to us, and we want the record to show that we are grateful for. We are second here. We are hardly at the top of their list of things to do. And they are taking care of first things first, and that is to find out who's left in that building and to pray maybe even harder than we did yesterday. But thank you, Oklahoma City Police, for your help in arranging and at least positioning Miss King for us and her baby. This is Randy Morad, with whom about whom I spoke a moment ago. Randy is 17. He's a junior in high school. Your high school is located, your high school's name is?
Putnam City North.
Putnam City North is about how far from the blast site, Randy?
30 miles.
30 miles. Did you hear it, feel it?
We heard it.
You really did?
We thought it was thunder, and one of the guys said, let's go outside. We went outside, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky.
30 miles away. Randy, you're here because you took some heat, did you, last week?
Yeah, a little bit.
You want to tell us about that?
You know, the kids, like, you're walking down the hall, somebody says, did your dad do the bombing? Was it you? Was it your family? And you got to ignore it. But I said, I'm an American. I was born here just like you, just because I'm of Lebanese descent. I mean, you got to blame me for it. I said, I was born here. I'm just as patriotic as you. I go to school here. I've lived here all my life. I mean, pretty much they're kidding, but you kind of get sick of it.
Yeah. What's it like being Lebanese in Oklahoma? I mean, do you feel different? Did anybody?
It's like being Lebanese anywhere else. I didn't feel different. I just when the people said something, you feel kind of.
But had you heard before? Has there ever been a suggestion to you that that your Arab descent means somehow you're not? Had you felt this prejudice before? Is the question, Randy?
Occasionally, but not very slim.
And you saw a rise in it last week, then? Is that?
Yeah, because after they said it was the Islamic community, and they started getting on the guys, with the big beards and the dark ones.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not Islamic, and I guess that's pretty much what they did. And they said, we had 2 bomb threats at our school that day that happened. They evacuated the building to the football field, and we said, friends walk around, did your dad call in the bomb threat? And stuff like that. And I said, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. You got to blow it off. You can't take it seriously.
No, but you certainly can be politicized by this very negative energy that obtains to people because they look this way or that way, and I assume life became a little more complicated last week, especially when the first reports of 2 Middle Eastern people and also there were a lot of so-called experts suggesting that this is the way the Middle Eastern terrorists work.
Well, if it was, how come they had 2 American guys as suspects on
Well,
TV?
we know now, don't we? And you're here to call our attention, Randy, to how quick we are to judge, how fast we are to broad brush. Now, this doesn't happen to everybody, but the Arab American League, Arab American Association has for a long time now worked very, very hard, overtime,
to stamp out what they see as the palpable prejudice extending to all Middle Eastern people, regardless of whatever country they may claim as their hometown.
Some of my friends get phone calls on the phone, threats to them, stuff like that. Like I have friends in El Paso, James and Joey Isaac. They said they had somebody call them and say that we know you did it.
They're Lebanese, are they?
Yes, sir, they are.
With more than just passing interest in all of these issues, we will feature two men. The NBC News terrorism consultant is with us, Neil Livingston, and he'll be joined by Ira Glasser, the executive director of the ACLU. Should the FBI have broader powers? Do our local police have enough power? Are we helping Wanda Webster's very talented son, Blake, who works hard as a member of the SWAT team for the Oklahoma City Police Department? Yes, he's the guy we call when we're in trouble. He's the guy that goes over the wall when something is suspected about what may be transpiring on private property. He's the first one out there. What powers does he have? What powers should we give him that he doesn't already have? We'll talk about that and other issues when we come back.
Hi. I just wanted to kind of ask if anybody really still cares about the children. A future without children is no future at all.
We do. I want to assure you that all these guests care about children.
I was listening to Randy, and I want him to know to keep the faith that not everyone's like that out there, and that we do believe in him. And, you know, we're all at blame, and I wish people would stop just blaming just anyone for anything and, you know, concentrate on the little ones, remember the faces of those little ones, and know that without them here, we wouldn't be anything, because children are life.
Yes. I would ask at this point Neil Livingston to kindly make his own contribution to our understanding of what ought to take place now. You are working with NBC News and trying to help us all understand what happened here, Mr. Livingston. Do you believe the FBI and other local and other law enforcement agencies should have broader powers?
Well, Phil, I think we ought to be very careful about all this, but not overreact. But at the same time, the victims that you're with today are very eloquent testimony that what we've been doing has not worked very well. We've been victimized at the World Trade Center in this bombing in the heartland of America, and certainly with other crimes in the past. And so I think what the president has prudently proposed, and it has broad support from many civil libertarians like Charles Schumer from New York and so on, is a number of fixes that would give us the ability to start doing surveillance and looking at groups that are making statements that are stockpiling weapons, hate groups that are anti-Semitic, racist, whatever, but that have a very high probability of being trouble down the road. It would give us the ability to look earlier, to be able to look at various records, telephone records, bank records, hotel records earlier on.
Right. Let me ask Mr. Glasser to kindly make his own comment about that. You are executive director of the ACLU, and you would want to say what? I'm sure you want to throw a yellow light up here.
Well, you know, there's a tremendous tendency when things like this happen, and the grief and the anger that follows, to go after the wrong people, which doesn't help anybody. The bombing itself, as Ms. Webster said, seemed to have been motivated by somebody who was angry in an undifferentiated way at all government employees, and that kind of prejudice produced violence. The kind of thing that Randy talked about can easily get, and has many times in our history, gotten totally out of control. You know, the day after Pearl Harbor, we were in greater trouble and greater shock than the day after Oklahoma City. And what happened in the wake of that is we got so afraid that we imprisoned and incarcerated over 100,000 Japanese American citizens, people born here, Americans like everybody else, for the duration of the war. We did so because we decided that the government needed broader powers, that we were not going to have criminal evidence as the standard for going after somebody. We were going to do it based on their heritage. We did it again in the 1960s. If somebody black committed an act of violence, the FBI ended up wiretapping Martin Luther King Jr. If somebody who was against the war in Vietnam blew up a building, everybody who was against the war in Vietnam became a target of FBI infiltration. Now, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't make anybody safer to go after innocent people and to infer that because of who they are or where their parents or their grandparents were born or what they believe is a proxy for criminal conduct. What is the government now proposing to do? It's proposing to, once again, as it has in the past, abandon or dilute evidence of crimes as a reason to infiltrate and begin to do so on the basis of statements. If you're a militant advocate of the Second Amendment, maybe if you're a member of the National Rifle Association, maybe if you subscribe to a magazine like Soldiers of Fortune, now you're going to become a target of government spying. That has never worked. Every time in this country we've done that, we have not uncovered more crime. What we've done is we've compounded the victimization by violating the rights of innocent people based on race or political views. And we ought to be cautious before we move in that direction.
Neil?
Well, I certainly agree we have to be cautious, as I said, but I think Mr. Glass is overstating the case. The problem in the past, when the civil rights movement was inappropriately spied upon and the anti-war movement, was, as Griffin Bell, the former Attorney General, said last night, the lack of accountability. And I think what the President's trying to do here is to say we need to set up an accountable system that's going to give the government more flexibility to keep tabs on these hate groups like the militias, who are making very, very violent statements and in this case have carried out a very devastating attack on our own citizens. And that may also mean that we have to restrict fundraising, as the President did earlier this year, to various groups that are raising money and supporting terrorism. I think it's unconscionable for Americans to contribute money to terrorist organizations.
Like what, for example? Like what organization?
Well, the President earlier this year put a freeze on the funds going to 12 organizations and 18 other individuals. Right. What they have suggested in the President's new program is that they would set up a list very similar to the State Department's list of state sponsors of terrorism, which will come after a great deal of reflection. And I'm thinking particularly of groups like Hamas right now, which is one of the President's earlier targets. Which is a Middle Eastern group that is carrying out terrorist attacks in Israel today.
Right. But Mr. Glasser's question obviously conveys the idea of the notion here that you have to decide what's a terrorist group. Ollie North raised a lot of money for the Contras from Mrs. Chenault and other wealthy Americans who gathered in hotel lobbies, couldn't wait to get the free drink and write a check for $5,000 so that the Contras would be funded in the war in Managua. Were they a terrorist group?
Well, Phil, I think that, once again, we don't want to overreact or begin a witch hunt or overstate this situation. President Clinton is hardly what I consider to be a radical in terms of the proposals he's made. What he's concerned about is...
Roosevelt, but he managed to incarcerate 100,000 Japanese Americans.
With the approval of the United States Supreme Court, right, we should say.
But no one is suggesting those kinds of actions, and I think we have to lower the volume here a little bit and look at what the President's actually proposed, which means that, I mean, you're sitting out, Phil, right now in Oklahoma City with victims of a very devastating terrorist attack. We need to preempt these things. We don't want to constantly pick up the pieces. So if we can find some way, consistent with our Constitution, to tweak the system a little bit better, to give the law enforcement a little more latitude in knowing some of these things might be coming down, then I think a lot of people would support those actions.
We have a postcard. Planting a tree in memory of the children who died. A member of the SWAT team. We're talking about you, officer. What would you want to... Do you need more power, do you feel?
Well, you know, my opinion on it is if you're not breaking the law, then what do you have to worry about? What do you have to hide? You know, if we have probable cause to come into your house and serve a search warrant, it's due to circumstances that have alerted us to investigate you.
Yeah.
You have a problem with this.
I do.
I can see that.
Well, you know, if privacy is not sacred to the fundamental notion of democracy, then nothing else is. And if it's, you know, saying, hey, if you're not guilty, then let them come in, does not cut it for me. The more doors we're able to knock down, the more doors we're going to knock down and scare the hell out of innocent people. We've already had a man succumb to a heart attack because they were supposed to raid the house next door. They picked him instead. We've got television shows, bad boys, what you gonna do when the cops come, boom, boom. I mean, if I may say this to you very respectfully, sir, because you're in the trenches, and it's quite clear that you are very well raised. You are the profile of the cop that we want to see on the beat.
See, but this is the cop, not the bad boy that you see on the media.
Here's my point. I think the more doors we knock down in a frightened environment, the more we put your son at risk. It isn't fair to the cops.
That's my job. I accept that. But I have no problem with that.
Mr. Glasser.
Let me say something in defense of what Blake Webster actually said. What he said was that if the police have probable cause, they can come in and serve a warrant and do a search. I don't disagree with that. If they have probable cause, what that means, to those of you who are not lawyers or cops, what probable cause means is that the police have some evidence of criminal activity in this particular house, and they go and get a search warrant, and the evidence of criminal activity becomes the reason to search. Nobody has any trouble with that. The problem is, what if it's not criminal evidence, which is what the president is now proposing? What if it's based on what you say, what you think, what you subscribe to, what organization you belong to, who you are? The kid in Randy's school who said, I bet your father did that, he can blow that off. But supposing it's an FBI agent who says, I bet your father did it, and he doesn't need criminal evidence to wiretap the phone or to infiltrate an organization, he just does it because he knows that it probably was an Arab American. If McVeigh had not been caught, right now, the government would have been telling you, we think it's Islamic terrorists, and everybody of Lebanese descent would have become a target. That's what we have to be careful of. As long as the cops and the FBI proceed based on criminal evidence, no problem. But what they are proposing to do now is to go back to that time where they can do it without criminal evidence, and that means they got to do it based on something else. And the something else turns out to be race, it turns out to be national origin, it turns out to be political beliefs. And every time we do that, nobody is made safer. It's just innocent people's rights are violated.
We never pointed a finger at anybody. It
I know,
was all the
I know
media.
you
No,
didn't.
but what you just said was that the FBI was saying that eventually it would be Islamic, and we never pointed a finger at anybody. It was all the media. It was a terrorist. Right. It was a terrorist expert that sat up there and
this
said that.
terrorist expert, Neil Livingston, said on April 20th, that kind of bomb is megadeath, and I don't know any other groups that use it except the Middle Eastern Islamic fundamentalist terrorist groups, like the kind that attacked the Trade Center in New York. So you did say that, Mr. Livingston, and when you said it, it was duly reported, and we should not be surprised that media is being blamed for this after the fact. I'll give you a chance, uninterrupted, to speak to these issues when we come back in just a moment. About your own comments immediately after the blast, which you were pretty certain that this was a Middle Eastern Islamic bomb that went off.
Well, that's not really true, Phil. In response to a question, and yes, indeed, the media does speculate. You speculate about things. And in response to a question as who might have done this, I had indicated, and it was a very accurate statement, that no one else had ever used a large car bomb to kill Americans. In every instance in the Middle East and at the World Trade Center, they were Islamic groups. But I also said repeatedly that I was very troubled by the fact that this event had occurred on the second anniversary of the siege of Waco, and that we had to keep at least some open mind here to looking at other groups.
Right.
And this
Mr. Glasser's point about the aftermath, you know, if we had not a white guy, so to speak, we just might be tapping Randy's phone today just to make the case here about what can happen when you get frightened of a group of people.
Well, Phil, I think, again, you're overstating it. I don't think that President Clinton, who came out to Oklahoma City to visit these victims and so on, I don't think that that's what he's suggesting. What he is suggesting is just some relaxation of the current guidelines that have prevailed at the Justice Department that govern the FBI, so that we can begin to look with with a little more certainty ahead of the curve, before these things happen, to try to protect our citizens, which I know is not necessarily Mr. Glasser's chief concern, but we want to protect them before it happens, and that doesn't mean we're going to spy on every Arab American or the government is going to do too much.
Very good. Your first concern is not the well-being of innocent people. You ACLU people care more about a principle than you do about a person. So what? We're going to knock a few doors down of innocent people. We've got to stop this.
Well, I can only say what Randy said earlier. We're Americans, too, at the ACLU, you know. We're citizens, too. We have children, too. The notion that because you express a point of view about the Constitution and the rights of innocent people, that you're not concerned about safety does not deserve inclusion in this sort of a debate. The real question is, when you talk about relaxing standards, what are you talking about? And what the president is talking about, and it is not an overstatement, is relaxing the standard from requiring evidence of criminal activity or the planning of criminal activity and beginning to infiltrate people based on who they are or what they think. Militant defenders of the Second Amendment will now become a target even if there's no evidence to suspect that they're planning a crime. That has always gotten us into trouble, and it has not made us safer. And it's a canard to suggest that that kind of activity is going to make anybody safer.
All right, the caller wanted to say.
I feel that every person involved in making this bombing come about should definitely be prosecuted to the very fullest extent of the law. But militia should not become a dirty word. It was the militia that gave this country its original freedom, and we still need people to stand up for the rights of the average citizen.
What does stand up mean?
Well, I mean, politicians obviously have failed us. We said that in the last election.
Yeah.
And
May I ask you just a specific question? Honestly, this is not, I just want to know.
All right.
Would it be a good thing if everybody in America could carry a concealed weapon legally?
I don't think carrying a concealed weapon is a good thing, but I think we should all be allowed to have the semi-automatic weapons in our home to protect ourselves.
Hang on just a second.
I'm from a very small town in South Carolina.
Yes, ma'am.
And recently there was a rally, and there were Harley-Davidson motorcycle. It was a fundraiser.
Another group that thinks they get bad press. Yes, go ahead.
And this group, I had a friend that was there. On the entry there, you had to you were videotaped and by your motorcycle, so that later, if anything happened in the rally, they would know who to go to. And
who did the videotape?
The police in our town.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel that your rights are violated when that happens.
You shouldn't have to subject to that.
No, I want protection, but
not that kind of snoopy stuff. Back in a moment.
She makes me laugh. The radiance, this light, it hit me. This could last for a very long time.
It was great.
It was great.
Oh my God, there's nothing like it in the world.
Panic. Terrible panic. She was so beautiful. I'm glad that you stick by me.
Everybody has that hunger.
They always say that you just know, and you just know. Do you believe in true love?
Strap yourself in, hold on, because Chopper 4's got you covered. Chopper 4 on 4 New York. See everything. Go everywhere. With Chopper 4. Live traffic report during Today in New York. And live at 5. No stop sign. And no speed limit. So you'll see it first. With Chopper 4. Before you head to work. Before you head home. Check the traffic and see it live. From Chopper 4. 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. Chopper 4's got you covered. Live news. Live traffic. Live from Chopper 4. It hits news in New York, New Jersey, or Connecticut. Look up, because Chopper 4 got you covered.
Why am I even working out? I'm taking the back medicine, the stress medicine, the allergy pills. I got muscle spasms, look. Yeah.
At CVS, our pharmacist keeps track of all your medications with the RX2000 computer. It checks for harmful drug interactions and more automatically. Isn't that right?
Got tennis elbow. I don't even play tennis.
If you're looking for a pharmacy that keeps track of it all, CVS has just what you're looking for.
Between your shower and this, you need this. FDS Feminine Deodorant Spray. It's hypoallergenic. Clinically proven safe and gentle. Stay fresh and dry every day. FDS. Make it your second deodorant.
is your absolute last chance to save like never before on quality living room furniture. All reasonable offers considered. These are your final days to save. Preferred Seating in New York and New Jersey is going out of business forever. Don't miss out. The end is here.
For a transcript of Donahue, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. To order a video cassette for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO.
Miss King, are you still there with us?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything we can do? At least we can show your picture on TV. Did you want to say, now that we've seen your baby girl, this beautiful child all well, and finally we got some smile back from you, what might you want to say with so little time left?
Well, I would like to let my loved ones know that I am safe, and I thank God for bringing us out of that disaster and many more days to come. But I want to send my love and say hi to my loved ones here in Oklahoma, friends and family, and also friends and family in San Diego, and to my dad, who's a scriptwriter.
Yeah.
And my mother, who wants to meet Herbie Hancock. I love you all.
We are very pleased to give you the opportunity to say all those personal things to the many people that love you and Rukia as well. I want to get back to Blake here, because here's the man in the trenches. We're out here talking, you're in there doing. Blake, if I may be so familiar, you know, if we broaden these powers, we're going to have you working long shifts, lots of overtime. You got some guy smoking pot over here. You better break his door down. You got a guy over here, I tell you what, I saw 3 different guns on this guy. You better break his door down. He's got dirty pictures over here. He's got pornography. You better break his door down. Mr. Glasser is merely saying that if you get frightened enough, it's already tough to be a cop. It's gonna be impossible if this kind of fear keeps up. Blake.
Just make it easier. I mean, we'll just give us more powers to investigate what we want to investigate. You say smoking marijuana, we're not going to kick your door in for smoking marijuana. However, if you have pounds of marijuana and you're dealing it out of your house, yes, we're coming in. If you own weapons that are illegal, yes, and we have information. You know, the ATF, we're going to go in there and seize those weapons. They're illegal guns.
But you're certainly not going to go in if somebody subscribes to Soldier of Fortune and you don't have any other evidence, right?
Nobody's going to do that.
All right.
What
So
judge in this country is going to sign a search warrant for somebody who subscribes to Soldier of Fortune?
The FBI did that for years and years and years under the old standards. The new standards were meant to stop them from doing that, and now the president wants to go back to the old standards. And that's the problem.
And we don't want thought police, is his point, and neither does Blake. And he's merely saying this opens the door to that possibility. We'll be back in just a moment.
Meet parents who say, help, my kid's a couch potato and his mind is turning to mush. Desperate families try to kick the TV habit. Next, Donahue.
Today on News 4 New York, live at 5. In Oklahoma City, the search continues for more victims. But today, a moment of silence and remembrance. Meanwhile, the Nichols brothers are charged. But what does that mean for the investigation? Then, more violence here in New York. A teenager is hospitalized after a pipe bomb explodes. Also on Live at 5, why a new treatment for Parkinson's disease is so controversial. And play ball. The Yankees play their home opener today, but will fans turn out and support? Len Berman reports today on News 4 New York, live at 5.
Ever wish you knew in advance who was calling?
This is Radar Control, daughter's boyfriend calling again.
Ever wish you had call ID?
Call is friendly. Call is friendly.
Call ID shows your caller's number. You can pick up, call back, whatever. Call now for a very special value pack offer. Call ID, call return, and repeat dialing, all for one low price. And you'll get a free connection and a free call ID box. Call 1-800-9-THE-BOX.
Go ahead, touch your skin. Because now there's a new Lever 2000 with even more moisturizer, so it won't dry your skin like the leading deodorant soap. New Lever 2000. It's best for your skin and all your 2000 touchable parts.
Okay, that's it. Summer's coming, and you've got 3 months to get in shape. So stop watching TV and call Bally's Health Club. We'll make it easy for you. Call now, and you can join for just $5 to start. That's right, $5 and you can start getting in shape for summer. The but you have to start now. So take Bally's Spring Challenge. Call Bally's Jack LaLanne Fitness Center at 1-800-WORKOUT because now's the time to join the club.
Cox, it's not 2,000 gallons.
Or 2,000 eggs.
Or 2,000 pounds of flour.
Or 2,000 golf balls.
It's $2,000.
Maxon needs your old car now. So they'll give you Black Book price for your trade. Plus a check for $2,000 when you buy any new Pontiac, Hyundai, Mazda, DMC truck, Buick, even Honda.
Only at Maxon Auto Group.
First floor.
Does this come with a matching carry-on? Let me check. Instead of going to a department store for luggage, go to the luggage experts. Innovation Luggage. Yes, it does.
With 34 convenient locations, why go anywhere else?
Yes, ma'am, you wanted to say? That's incidentally a live shot of the blast scene, yes.
I'm a lawyer who's gone into media, and I like to reinforce the importance of accuracy in the media. I'm from Washington, D.C., and when the reports first came out, many groups were being labeled and named without having any accuracy at all. So the importance of accuracy is in the media is important.
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Join me in thanking.
X14 Kitchen Cleaner challenges Formula 409 on this baked-on grease. Which works better?
The X14 took everything off without scrubbing.
X14 Kitchen Cleaner.
Alpine Lace, fat-free cheese. No fat, 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 no fat.
Anew from Avon removes dull, dry surface skin to reveal fresher, younger-looking skin. Guaranteed. You can call your Avon representative or 1-800-4AVON.